The Black Nazarene or Poong Hesus Nazareno is a life-sized image of Christ carrying the cross. It arrived in Manila via galleon from Acapulco, Mexico on May 31, 1606. Veneration of the Black Nazarene is rooted among Filipinos who strongly identify with the passion and suffering of Christ that the image depicts, while some claim that physically touching the image can bring miracles and cure diseases. The Feast of the Black Nazarene is on January 9, while Good Friday is its liturgical feast, commemorating the culmination of the Passion of Jesus. In 1650, Pope Innocent X approved the veneration of the image as a sacramental and authorized the establishment of the Cofradia de Hesus Nazareno. On December 11, 1987, the shrine was elevated to the status of basilica. On January 29, 2024, Quiapo Church was declared the National Shrine of Hesus Nazareno. Millions of devotees gather annually for the fiesta, with over 6 million recorded in attendance this 2024. Let us now listen to the reflection of Father Rufino Sescon Jr., Rector of the Basilica and National Shrine of Hesus Nazareno, on the fourth word, my God, why have you forsaken me?"
I'm sure you have encountered that slogan, Jesus is the answer. You have seen stickers, posters, tarpaulins stating that beautiful fact that Jesus is the answer. But you know, there was this spiritual writer who said that Jesus is more of a question man rather than an answer man. In fact, in the Gospels, Jesus asks more than 300 times. He asked a lot of questions. And compared to that, he was asked around 140 times. He asked more rather than being asked by people. And you know what? From those 140 questions posed on him, he only answered a few of them. That is why he was really more of a question man. In fact, the very first words he uttered to his would-be disciples would be a question. What are you looking for? No wonder in the Gospels, especially in Matthew and Mark, when Jesus was dying on the cross, his very last words were in the form of a question. The fourth word, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Till the very end, Jesus was asking questions. And this question has become problematic for some people. And that is why some would scramble to say that this was not really a despairing question, but rather a lament and a prayer. Because true enough, my God, why have you forsaken me?" was taken from Psalm 22. They are the very first words of that psalm. Yes, the psalmist felt abandoned, forsaken by God. But then, if you would continue that psalm, the psalmist would now present his need and ask the Lord for help. And towards the end, there will be a confession, an admission of trust that the Lord will deliver us from forsakenness. That's why for some people, Psalm 22 was in the mind of Jesus as he was on the cross. That it was not really a despairing question, but a lamentation and even an affirmation of faith. But I invite you to look at this question at its rawness, rather than immediately dismiss the despair, the lamentation, the loneliness, and abandonment. Perhaps Jesus really experienced that to the full. And that is why, from another point of view, yes, he felt abandoned. He felt forsaken. But notice, in the end, he still said, my God, my God. Because in the end, even though there is a seeming absence of God, he has no one to turn to and still call him my God. Diyan ko po naaalala ang mga deboto dito sa Quiapo. Nasa tingin ko ang tanong na ito ni Hesus ay tanong din nila sa Nazareno. Sabi nga po nila ang Quiapo daw ang place of last resort. This is the place people go to when there is no one to turn to. Wala ka nang mapupuntahan pang iba. Wala ka nang mapagbabalingan pang iba. Sinukuan ka na ng doktor kasi wala nang gamot. Wala nang pag-asang gumaling. Wala nang pambili ng gamot, pambayad sa ospital. Kaya tatakbo na lang sa Nazareno. Sinukuan ka na ng asawa mo, nagtaksil sa'yo, iniwang ka, sinukuan ka ng anak mo, wala ka ng ibang mapupuntahan pa, kundi ang Nazareno. Hirap ka na sa buhay, daming pagsubok, ang daming tanong, ang daming pag-aalinlangan, sumubo ka ng marami na, gumawa ka na ng ibang paraan, pero ganun pa rin ang nangyayari. Kaya wala ka ng ibang mapuntahan pa, kundi ang poong Nazareno. Pero sa bandang huli, bagamat may tampo, may sama ng loob, may kawalan ng pag-asa, wala ka na rin ibang masasabi kung hindi, Diyos ko, Diyos ko. Siya pa rin ang Diyos. Siya pa rin ang makapangyarihan. Kahit na parang wala pa siyang ginagawa, siya pa rin ang ating pagbabalingan. Because in the end, in the midst of bitterness, in the midst of even anger, at the end of the day, He is still my God and our God. I want you to look at the fourth word from that perspective, in its rawness, that impact for people who really feel abandoned, who feel helpless in the face of the crosses of life, just like Jesus. And let's look at it also from another point of view. Let us not immediately conclude to that affirmation of trust, to that cry to the Lord who will deliver us. Perhaps Jesus wanted to stay first in that despairing state because He is inviting us to also ask that question to the Father. My God, why have you forsaken me? Because if Jesus, the Son of God, who took everything except sin, then He also took everything, including our aloneness, our despair, hopelessness, and helplessness. And isn't that comforting and consoling for us? Di ba may commercial, wag mahiyang magtanong. Ganon din daw, ang parang gustong sabihin sa atin ng Panginoon, wag mahiyang magtanong sa Ama. Kung hindi pa natin kayang lubos na magtiwala, lubos na umasa sa Kanya, kahit man lang magtanong. At yun ang pinasok ni Hesus nung siya'y nasa krus at tinanong niya ang mga salitang ito, Diyos ko, bakit mo ako pinabayaan? And for us, that is still good news. Because we know when we ask that question, God is also there. Minsan nakala natin, pag nagtanong tayo ng parang gano'n ang tono, parang lumayo na tayo sa Diyos o wala na ang Diyos. Pero ipinapakita sa atin ni Jesus maging sa tanong na yon, maging sa ganong kalagayan, kahit wala pang linaw ang lahat, kahit wala pang kasagutan ng lahat, naroon ang Diyos. Kaya naalala ko rin ang mga deboto dito sa Quiapo. Yung iba nga siguro, kaya sila nagpupunta kasi wala na silang mapagbalingan, wala na silang mapuntahan. Pero sa pagmamasid ko din sa mga debotong nagpupunta dito, lalo na yung mga nagdarasal sa gabi, sila yung nandun na siguro nga nagtatanong lang. Dahil hindi nila talaga alam kung ano ang magiging linaw sa buhay. In the Apostles' Creed, isn't it, we say, Jesus descended into hell. Hell. A place where we believe God is not there. A place we believe where there is so much anguish, despair. And isn't it that even in this world, somehow, we also have a taste of hell. Maraming tao ang dumadaan sa ganoong sitwasyon sa buhay. Parang impyerno. Parang walang Diyos. Dahil ang kabutihan parang natatalo. Ang kasamaan parang nagwawagi. Ang mga mabubuti parang sila yung nahihirapan. Yung nagsusumikap, sila yung hindi makakita ng liwanag. At ang mas masakit, yung mga talagang malayo naman sa Diyos. Sila pa ang parang nagtatagumpay, nagsasaya, at gumiginhawa. Now we understand why Jesus asked that question. Not to offer an answer, but to be in that question as we ask the same question. Jesus came not just to answer questions. Jesus came to fill our questions with His presence as we wait for an answer. Kaya, hindi tayo matatakot magtanong. Di ba meron ngang kasabihan din, it's okay not to be okay. And God is perhaps also telling us, it's okay not to be okay before me. You don't have to pretend that you're strong, you're confident, you're certain. Your honest heart is more important before me. And that is why that last question of Jesus before He died on the cross in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark, our fourth word, my God, why have you forsaken me? That question which seemingly looks despairing and hopeless is in fact the most hopeful question that Jesus ever uttered, because now we can also ask that question before the Father. And that is why in our reflection, I invite you, especially right now to those who feel the burden of this world, the onslaught of all the tempests and trials and storms of life, those who feel so alone, so depressed, so helpless, I invite you to join Jesus in asking that question, which you already filled with His presence. My God, why have you forsaken me?
O Christ, our Savior, in your most vulnerable moment, you asked, my God, why have you forsaken me? It is a question that is likewise asked by so many during the hardest trials of life,
Yet in the end, you showed your faithfulness to the Father. Thank you for your empathy, honesty, and humility in showing us your vulnerability. May we find comfort in this, a reassurance that especially during the hardest times of our lives, you understand us and are there. O Christ, our Savior, fill us with your presence and draw us closer to the Father.